Hey, what's up guys, it's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of What If Naruto Was the 5th Hokage. And before continuing this story, if you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. For almost at 2500 subscribers, and I would really appreciate it if you do so. And yeah guys, without further ado, let's continue my story. Naruto traveled at transcendent speed around Konoha, looking for Shizune. He stopped atop of a building as he dropped to one knee. His breathing was hard and fast, but he was smiling nonetheless. That's 10, at least my limit. But it's a better limit than 3, I guess. I get it now. I don't pump it to my legs, but that small strings out as I walk. I'm glad I'm getting adjusted to this technique, but I still need a name for it, though, Naruto said as he stopped and sat on the roof of the building. It's neat the word step in it, I know that. Since all do is walking at high speed, then how about blur step? No. How about quick step? Nah, that's too over the top. Light step? No. Flash step? Yeah. Perfect. I'm a genius after all, Naruto said as he jumped up and down on the roof. Link break. Tsunade-sama was the scream that Naruto heard just down the street. Naruto jumped off the roof and ran to what sounded like Shizune. He burst in the door to find Shizune with a shocked expression. Shizune, what's wrong? What happened to Granny? Naruto said as he was already going through hand signs for an Earth-style ninjutsu. She's concentrating on studying of all things, Shizune said as Naruto thought over her words and looked over Tsunade, who was in fact studying a medical book. Oh, Kami! What's happening? Is this all just a dream or some story by a weird guy who thought this would be a good idea? You're studying? Naruto said, too shocked to do anything but yell. Tsunade gave them both an irate look as she sipped her sake. I'm studying for Rock Lee surgery, Tsunade said with a serious face as Naruto's eyes widened just a fraction. He had a feeling Lee would need to go through a surgery. How bad is he? Naruto asked with an equal serious face as he sat the booth on the opposite side of Tsunade. Some of his injuries are embedded deep into his spinal cord. The surgery as it is now only has a 50% chance of success. But if I can apply the jutsu Kabuto used to the patient such as Rock Lee, then it could increase the chance of success, even if it's just meant by a 1% or so. Tsunade said as Naruto looked deep in thought. He figured she meant the one Kabuto had done when he was hit by Naruto's wrestling gun. So it was a jutsu and not a bloodline. That means it could be used on anyone, by anyone, as long as they had the power to use it. I'll see what I can do about that. Kabuto's jutsu was probably his own. I'll do some checking and tell you what I come up with, Naruto said as Tsunade nodded, but then looked at him in confusion. You plan to help me with the surgery? Tsunade asked as Naruto nodded with a smile on his face. I am the 5th Hokage after all. I plan to do a lot of things to help this village, and I think it's a good start to help at least to just continue his dream. Don't you think? Naruto said as Tsunade leaned back in her seat and chuckled. Fine. I plan to begin preparations 2 days from now. Dig up whatever you can by then. Afterwards, have Shizune here teach you about anything you may not know, Tsunade said, but as she finished Naruto paled ghostly, as Shizune was chuckling evilly with a dark aura around her. Naruto and I gonna have to study a lot, and we're gonna do our best, right Naruto? Shizune said wickedly sweet as Naruto was trembling as he nodded. Hi, Shizune sensei, Naruto said as he stood and walked out of the tavern. As soon as he did, he stepped into the street and ANBU dropped in front of his knee. The coronation is about to begin, Naruto-sama. The villagers and the elders require your presence, the female war-masked ANBU said with just a hint of dissent in her voice. Very well, let us go, Naruto said coldly as he turned from her and disappeared. The ANBU kneeled on the street, froze in her place by the frigid cold tone that struck her. He could have known she was against his appointment, could he? She shook her head as she needed to get to the coronation herself and think about that over. Later, link break at the coronation with Naruto. Naruto adjusted his ceremonial robes and ran a hand over them and put his left hand on the Kage head, hoping the gesture would mask his own growing nervousness. for his inauguration as Konoha's Kodam Hokage. Despite all his confidence in proclaiming that he will be the Hokage all these years ago, it was a way different story when it actually was going to happen. You look fine, stop fussing yourself, or you'll rip those clothes to shreds, Jiraiya said as he leaned against the doorway of the ceremonial room. Naruto gave him a small smile as he took a deep breath. It was also really like real now for him. So, how do these things usually go? Naruto asked curiously as he went over to Jiraiya. Pretty boring if you ask me, but the only one I've ever been was Minato's, so that may not be an accurate account. It's basically you just standing there while one of the elders announces your life up until now. They may throw in a few things extra, but it's all basically a snore. Well, I better get out there. The village needs my good looks to survive, after all, Jiraiya said as he disappeared in a clump of smoke. Taking one last look in his appearance in the mirror, Naruto stepped out of the room and looked out of a hallway window. He couldn't see the rooftop since it was above him, but he could see his people. He could see their faces, so he used his Kami Dagon to see them all clearly. He could now clearly see into the literal crowd of thousands. He saw Shikamaru actually standing beside Asuma with a smirk on his face. Choji was beside him, not eating, which was first for Naruto to see. Ino was standing with Hinata and Tenten as they, like everyone else, was looking up at the rooftop. He then saw Rock Lee there on his crutches standing along with Neji and Guy with a hand on each of his shoulder. He could see Neji with a smirk, but he didn't know why. Then he saw that the Hyuga prodigy had his Byakugan activated and was staring right at him. Naruto wanted to hide, but then slapped his forehead as he realized that made no sense or point. He just waved at Neji, along with several other Hyugas waved back. Kurenai Sensei was standing with Kiba and Shino. Kiba had Akamaru atop his head as the dog was barking. Shino was just, well, Shino. Anko, the crazy-ass snake lady, was leaning on Kurenai Sensei. Naruto could read lips. I guess lips. Naruto couldn't read lips. It's laps written here. Anyways, on to our story. But he was fairly sure that whatever he was being said between them, Kurenai Sensei had a red face, and he was pretty sure that it was embarrassing. He gazed through the crowd and saw something that made his heart both lighter and beat faster. His team was to the special Jonin. Kakashi and Sasuke looked exhausted and ready to drop dead, but they were there nonetheless. With Sasuke looking around and saying something, Kakashi put a hand on his head and said something that made her stop. But whatever was said gave Sasuke a thoughtful look. He saw then Sakura as well along with them, while looking at Sasuke with heartful eyes. He saw many other villagers instead of them. Iruka and the other teachers in the academy, students, and Tenoichi and Ayame from the Ichiraku ramen bar. The only people he didn't see were Tsunade and Shizune, the clan heads, the village elders, and Jiraiya. He resolved that they must have been on the rooftop waiting for him. Link break. It was then a loud voice. Koharu, if he had to guess, began speaking. He had no idea Koharu could be that loud. Proud people of Konoha, we have been through much, and it has weighed heavily upon our village. We've seen just recently an invasion in which we were attacked by 2 villages. Thought we fought and won, and persevered through it all. The heaviest of all was the loss of our dear Sam Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. But we will not give up. He would not want that of us. He wants you all to weather these tough times and the tough times ahead. That is why we have gathered here today to welcome the leader who will bring us through those tough times. The determination and unyielding spirit, Koharu said as then stepped back as Hamura came up and went through hand signs. We of the village have kept many secrets, not just from our enemies but from you the people as well. We, the elders and your newest Hokage, believe that it is time for some, if not all, of the secrets to come to light. The village is a family and we should not keep secrets from our family. So here, in front of all that are gathered, shall we tell you the truth about the one, Naruto Uzumaki, Hamura said as voices began to mutter. to one another. Naruto could see Sakura turn to Kakashi and say something, but he must have told her to listen to the elder since she turned back. He saw that a lot of the younger people had turned to adults, but they did as Kakashi did. Naruto Uzumaki, as many of you know, or may know, was a canon of Konoha. He was the village prankster and wanted nothing more than the attention of others. Though there are far more rooted things than you all know, he shall expose a truth now that was banned by law for speaking. Naruto Uzumaki is the Kyuubi Jinchuriki of Konoha, Amura said as the entire crowd gasped and went wide-eyed, even Kakashi. Naruto saw that several of the Jonin appeared besides each other, namely Kakashi, Guy and Asuma. Kurenai and Anko were having their own discussion, and Naruto knew that he was the topic of the muttering and whispering voices. Link break. Back with the audience. What were they thinking of outing Naruto like that? Kakashi said as Small shrugged, but did glare up at the elder as he waited for the people to calm themselves. I don't know, but they had better have a damn good reason. Naruto could execute that old man for something like that, Asuma said as Guy nodded. Perhaps that is a bad news to whatever other secrets they and Naruto feel must be exposed. Guy said with his serious voice as he gave Hamura a narrow-eyed look. Hey Kurenai-chan, do you think Naruto would give that old bastard a public execution for this? I always wanted to see his old ass die and then Danzo. Oh boy, I will even bring popcorn and dangos to enjoy that bastard's execution. Uncle said excitedly as Kurenai was serious and frowning. I don't know, Uncle, but whatever's going on, it better move on quickly before the civilians fill their children's head with more demonic stories of Naruto, Kurenai said as she gave the old man a hard look. Link break. Hamura finally raised his arms to stretch the crowd, and all was silent as he pressed on. That is not the most shocking thing you will learn today. Naruto Uzumaki is a hero for containing the demon that would have destroyed us. If not for his very butt, we would have all been at the mercy of Kyuubi and its wrath. He is a hero of epic proportions and shall be regarded as such. That was the wish of the both Yondaime and Sandaime. But the village was heartless. Finds discredit this wish. This last dying wish, simply because you do not understand. Now you shall learn of one of the most shocking secrets that has been kept from you over 13 years. Once you learn of this, you shall wish to repent your deeds against young Uzumaki. Umura said and stepped back as Danzo leaped up to the front of the rooftop. His cold and stone face made everyone nervous because even Danzo normally did not look that cold to people. You fools who praise the Sandaime and Yondaime for their actions, yet you disregard their wishes. I could point at each and every one of a person out of you who has wronged Uzumaki-san, in one way or another. There are only a handful of people who would escape that identifying. Though I suppose making you feel sorry now is of no real merit. For once I have said what I planned to each of you. Shall gaze upon the boy with new eyes and newfound shock and awe. Danzo said as the crowd was eerily silent when he took his pause. Uzumaki is not just some common and useless name, it is one of his birth names. Some of you may know this, but I shall explain for those who don't. Naruto Uzumaki happens to be the last of his clan, the Uzumaki clan to be exact. The Uzumaki clan was a prominent clan in Uzushio-gakure, the land of the whirlpools. They were also distant relatives of the Senju clan, and thus both clans were on good terms, an alliance that extended onto their hidden villages, Konoha and Uzushio, or the hidden in the whirlpool village. Did you know that the whirlpool symbol integrated onto our shinobi uniforms and flak jackets, as well as on the shoulders of these uniforms, is a sign of friendship and goodwill between the two villages, and continue to do so to this day, in memories of our friendship, even years after Whirlpool's destruction? No, I suppose not. But then again, none of you could see the plain truth in front of your eyes. That shall be the next truth I reveal unto you, the precious people of Konoha. The crowd was as silent as they could be. Naruto Uzumaki, the resident moron, the prankster of Konoha, and all around annoyance, was the last of a clan that not only helped their village but had a village of their own. The shopkeepers vowed to be nicer to the boy, gave him a few gifts, and apologized for their past treatment of him. The shinobi who didn't know were shocked right down to their cores as they looked to the swirl symbol on their and others' clothes. That thing was just about everywhere in this village, and it was a dedication to a founding clan. That Naruto Uzumaki, the #1 knucklehead ninja, was the last of. They couldn't believe it. True, they had been already seeing him as one of them, a true shinobi of Konoha, but to think that the kid had the power of a clan and was related to the Senjus, it was enough to make more than a few of them faint. Were there to wake them up. What was next? He was being the son of Kushina Uzumaki? Damn it! They fainted again. I see some of you have already begun to realize just what is next on the list of secrets to be revealed. For those who haven't realized this, and allow me to do the honors. Naruto Uzumaki is the son of the only other resident Uzumaki in this village has had since the wife of the Shodai Hokage, Mito Uzumaki. That is Naruto's great-grandmother, and Naruto is the great-grandson of the Shodai Hokage, the great-grandnephew of the Nandaime Hokage, and son of Kushina Uzumaki, the red-hot-blooded habanero. Danzo said as he saw a dozen of more ninja in the crowd faint. Apparently they still remembered her quite vividly even after 13 years. As many of you know, there was only one man that was worth Kushina's time. That man and her became first friends and even lovers. They married around 14 years ago and were found dead in each other's arms. That man gave Naruto his hair color and dye color and skin tone. In fact, the resemblance between the two is so noticeable that you'd have to be complete moron not to see it, Danzo said as the sound of many face palms came out across the crowd. He smiled and it made a lot of people give him a look. The sounds of idiots finally seeing the truth was always music to his ears. Link break. You don't think? No, it couldn't be. It's impossible, Kakashi was saying as Kai shook his head. Calm down, Kakashi. It's alright. We all deluded ourselves from the truth because it was far too painful. We know it was true, yet we decided against it because if there was even a chance it wasn't, we'll all be far more depressed, I guess, Kai said as Asuma nodded. But he was my teacher, my sensei. The man was like my second father to me. I like Naruto was his brother, or at least meant to be. I looked Naruto in the face so many times, and I just brushed the resemblance off as a coincidence, Kakashi said as Sakura and Sasuke looked at him and came over along with all the other canons. I wrote it off as mere coincidence that he had the blonde hair, the crueline blue eyes, the perfect tan skin, and the talent of ninjutsu. I said, there's no way he could be my sensei's son because they said he and Kushina sensei died on that day and no child was found. I was a damn Jonin for Kami's sake. I should have known that my sensei would never use someone else's kid for that sealing. I should have known that my sensei would do something as stupid as to seal the most powerful demon into his own son, because it was the only way, Kakashi said hysterically as he dropped to his knees with tears streaming out of his eyes. Finally, I could have done so much for Naruto. I could have been there for him, given him home, a big brother, better training, love, compassion, and a shoulder to cry on when he was alone. I could have been there so much more than a guard at his window, or a half-assed teacher. I could have been Kakashi Nisan or big brother Kakashi. I could have a little brother to help deal with the sorrows of my life. My own life. You could have imparted some of that never die attitude onto me. It all could have been so beautiful, Kakashi said as his students and friends looked down at him. Kai and Asuma bent down and patted his back while Kurna and Anko came over. It's alright, Kakashi. You've done more than you think. You've given him a great moral teacher. And that's very hard because of teamwork. The importance of loyalty and the love of a teacher. You said it yourself that he has the moral beliefs of a team. At best, that should count for something because it was you who installed those beliefs into him, Kai said reassuringly as Kakashi got him and nodded. You're right, Kai. You're right, Kakashi said slowly as he didn't even bother to dry his tears. They were his punishment and his pride. Link break. Danzo surveyed the crowd and his hawk gaze and found that they were quieting down. It was time for the final nail to be hit in the coffin. Naruto Uzumaki is the son of none other than Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. Danzo said as everyone in the crowd was stunned. The civilian population were dumbfounded, and most of the ninja population as well. How the hell did they not see it? The sun-kissed blonde hair, the sparkling curriculum blue eyes, and the never-die attitude. Damn, he is the son of Minato and Kushina. Even the civilians that hated Naruto to their core couldn't scream out in protest. Even they couldn't delude themselves about who his father was. They knew their beloved Jonin would never use any child for that sort of sealing, but his own, it was the plain, honest, and undeniable truth. Naruto was the son of the fourth Hokage. They hung their heads in shame for how they treated the son of their best and most powerful Hokage. They just hoped they'd never die attitude extended to forgiveness as well. The ninjas were still face-palming themselves all around for not seeing the resemblance earlier. How the hell could masters of disguise and secrets not have seen the plain and simple truth that ran past them every damn single day? He had to be the son of Kushina. The way he got back at people for ignoring them. He turned their ninja clothes pink for ignoring him. That was definitely a Kushina-like move. Danzo smirked as he saw more face palming and even some going up to the trees and knocking their heads against them. He looked out and saw some of the civilians were doing the same. He really loved this part of him. The part that could enjoy the stupidity of other people's. It was the highlight of this week. Oh well, time to continue. That's right, you so hated Naruto. Uzumaki is the son of your own beloved Jonin. What's more, as you all know, the Namikaze were one of the first clans to join and build the village. The Namikaze are why the Yuga and Sarutobi clans joined the village. The Namikaze clan was a small clan but a founding clan nonetheless, and Naruto is the last descendant of it as well. You who dishonored the Sandam and Yondam has dishonored this village and its founding. You have dishonored the Senju and its members. You have dishonored all the previous Hokage. Danzo said as almost everyone in the village hung their heads. Danzo's smirk came back as he raised his arms. And you have done a great and terrible dishonor to your newest Hokage. At hearing that, everyone's attention was back on him and not their sorrow. They had already dishonored their new rulers. Leader? Oh, Kami-sama, help them. What if the newest Hokage was Tsunade? With her temper, they'd kill themselves before she got to them. What if it was Jiraiya? They had never saw him angry or displeased, but if the stories Orochimaru used to tell were true, then they'd run to Tsunade before they'd let him get a hold of them. It didn't matter who the newest Hokage was, their asses were in hot water now. Link break. Asuma-sensei, the goddamn Hokage won't do anything too bad, right? I mean, we're loyal followers, so we'd be alright, huh? Right? Choji asked as Genin turned to Asuma. Neji was shifted nervously as he gazed at one of the windows to the Hokage mansion. Naruto wouldn't do something that terrible, right? Well, it depends on the mood the fifth is in. He can order us to basically slaughter anyone that did an injustice to Naruto and the village. Words get out about how we treated ninja like Naruto, and then if word get out about his heritage, all hell will break loose in the shinobi world. This village may invaded just to get Naruto out of this hellhole. I know Wave Country would kill us after Naruto saving their country, so we may or may not have to kill off the ones that made Naruto's life hell. Just be prepared in case we're ordered to, okay Choji? Asuma said as the Genin were wide-eyed at how conversationally he said it all. The other Jonin sensei and senior ninjas rolled their eyes at his little over the cannon head joke. Neji caught on to the joke but still vented shock as he mentally smirked. The fifth Hokage can't just kill people off for how they treated one person. That's barbaric. Sakura exclaimed as Kakashi turned to him. The Yondam Kazekage used sand to assassinate his own son. Kara, the Sandai Mizukage used Mist Ninja and ANBU to try and kill of any other persons with a bloodline in their village. The Sandam Raikage tried to kidnap Hinata from our village and didn't care that his head ninja was killed. The Nandam Tsuchikage killed off half of his villagers thinking they were going to revolt against him. And Minato Sensei killed an entire army of rock ninja, even those who had surrendered or tried to retreat. You kids need to learn not to question your leaders and simply accept what is said, especially today. Kakashi said as Sakura and the others gazed at him with shock. Link break. Hamura and Koharu had stepped alongside Danzo as they gazed over the crowd. They made a motion and ANBU ninja with a cat mask nodded and disappeared. Naruto couldn't believe some of the things that had been said, but like everything else, he resolved to deal with it when he did have things to do. He could have an emotional breakdown after today was over with. Hokage-sama, it is time, Tora said as Naruto nodded and walked away from the window, his purple eyes fading back into curriculum. Thank you, Tora. Hey, I have a question. Why do you have a name cat mask, but you code him as Tora, which means tiger? I know it's a weird question, but I'm just curious, Naruto asked as he got to the doorway where Tora was standing. Well, you know that cat that you might have catched in the cannon catch missions? The re-ranks? The demon cat, remember? Tora said as he shifted while Naruto nodded. Yeah, that damn thing is ferocious. It clawed my face up pretty damn good. When my team had to catch it, that wasn't a normal cat. That was a demon in hiding. Naruto said as Tora nodded. That's why. Tora said as he lowered his head. Naruto raised a brow, but then his confused face turned to one of Mit's as they walked down the hall. Are you telling me that you're the ANBU epitome of that cat? That's hilarious. You're supposed to be that damn cat. Thank you. You made this whole thing a lot easier for me. Damn, that was a nice weight off my shoulders, Naruto said as he laughed and walked up the stairs. He patted Tora on the shoulder as he reached the top of the stairs. You're welcome, Hokage-sama. Glad to be of help, he said as his shoulders slumped as he gave up under his mask. Why could he just go for fox? No one ever made fun of foxes. Link break. People of Konoha, your Hokage has lived a simple life. He was chosen by the Fire Daimyo and approved by the Shinobi Council. We, the three village elders, has approved his accession as well, and the Jonin of the village has also approved of his accession as well. He has defended this village not only in the invasion of the sand and sound, but against the threat of Orochimaru regaining the use of his arms after the third Hokage sealed them away. He has brought back Tsunade Senju and has promised to lead Konoha into better times, Samura said as some of the people paled, thinking it was Jiraiya. Sasuke gazed up at the roof. Tiredly, he may have just come out of a month-long coma, but even he knew who they'd be naming. He glanced over to his fellow Genin and saw that Shikamaru and Shino were elbowing each other with grins. Wait, was Neji over there smirking? The Jonin looked to be about to laugh out loud as Sakura looked as confused as always. How could she not know about that? It was so obvious. He figured it out when they started talking about Naruto. It didn't take the others long either since Hinata's face was red. Ino looked like she was about to rape something and that 10 girl was giggling her head off. Well, hell, even Kakashi was smirking underneath the damn mask of his. Oh wait, yup, Sakura's face looked like someone just smacked her. So she must have figured it out. Kiwa looked like he swallowed cat food. So he figured it out too, huh? No way, she whispered out as Sakura humped and smirked up at the Hokage tower. The three elders moved apart and a figure with his face hidden by the rim of the Hokage hat moved up to the stands next to him. You did it, dope, and way earlier than anyone would have thought. But that doesn't change the fact that we're talking after this, or that you're a dope and a dead last, but you're certainly a great one at that, Sasuke thought as he looked towards the setting sun. Just so happened to be setting behind the Hokage mansion and the Hokage's faces. People of Konoha, we give you your goddamn Hokage, Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, Koharu shouted as Naruto removed his hat and let the wind blow through his spiky blonde hair as he gazed down at his people. Yeah, his people. That had a nice sound to it. The shinobi and some civilians were clapping and cheering for him, rather loudly he might add, especially Hinata. He had no idea she could be that loud. Yet most of the civilians remained quiet, like eerily quiet. Link break. After the cheering faded away and the silence remained, all hell broke loose. Cries of outrage and screams of protest, all that were heard. Many of the civilians yelled and shouted for it to be a mistake. And what did Naruto do, you might ask? The only thing he could do. He stood there and took it all. He placed his hat back on and let the screams, shouts and yells wash over him as he held his peace within. But then things got crazy. like out the scroll crazy. Jiraiya, who Naruto hadn't seen on the rooftop with the others, had appeared out of nowhere atop Kamabunta in the middle of the village. The white-haired sage went through a hand sign in a flash, and the partly cloud even of orange sky turned into a storm of black clouds and roaring thunder. Everyone turned wide-eyed and shocked to see the ferocious, furious face of the Toad Jonin and the resident sage of the Konoha. His eyes were narrowed as he glared down at the crowd. His hands were balled up into fists and were clenched so tightly that knuckles were white as his hair. His nostrils flared, and his mouth was in the form of a skull, a deep skull, and forbidding that even Hamura had to gape. This was the face in Orochimaru's story that was known as the Beast of Asani that protected the village. This was one of hell of a pissed off Jiraiya, and his target was Konoha. "You fools and morons! How dare you screech in protest to my godson being made the Hokage, as if any of you should be. He has protected this village time and time again. He is a ninja of Konoha and has proved that with his blood, sweat and tears he has endured more than any of you ever could in this life or any other life. He has felt the sting of isolation, the pain of not knowing why he was hated, and the ache of learning the truth. You have no right to declare that he is unfit, or to say undeserving for this title. So allow me to show you the hell, since you want to make his life a living one." Even after all that has been said, Jiraiya roared, and with unparalleled rage and venom in his voice. As he slowly went through hand signs, Kamabunta's stomach began to swell, with Naruto's eyes widened, and what he knew was come next. "Jiraiya-sensei, don't do this! They're not worth it! Please stop!" Naruto yelled as he gazed up at his sensei. Had the man gone mad with rage? He threw his Kage hat to Danzo, who put it on his own head for safekeep, quote-unquote, and jumped to the railing of the rooftop. He jumped down and straight towards Jiraiya and Kamabunta as if he was flying with wings. The crowd below watched as Naruto sailed at Jiraiya with terrifying and panicked expressions. Naruto created a shadow clone with the two going through their own hand signs, and both inhaled deeply as Jiraiya did the same. Kamabunta unleashed a large torrent of oil that was quickly set on flames by Jiraiya's fire jutsu. The real Naruto unleashed his own flames, and the clone blew out a twister of air. "Fire style, Toad flame bombs! Flame vortex jutsu!" The two jutsu collided together, with Naruto swallowing Jiraiya's own and dissipating into the air. The clone flung the real Naruto at Jiraiya and dispelled as the town madman, forming a head sign with a smirk on his face. Naruto tackled Jiraiya as they were overtaken by a plump of smoke. They went skidding across a surface as Naruto flipped over Jiraiya to see that they were on the Hokage's rooftop. Jiraiya rubbed his head but chuckled all the same. Tsunade helped him up and the elders clapped. "What the hell is going on here?" Naruto asked with a serious look as Jiraiya sighed and walked over to the railing to look at the people below. As soon as they saw him, they recalled back fear, but he didn't care about that as Naruto stepped up next to him. "You see, people, just now, as much as the village hated him, as you can see, he still tried to protect you. Yet the ungrateful people think he's unfit. But he has the will of fire that my godfather and mentor had, and he will risk all for you, even though my wrath would have been completely justified. He will still go against me and protect you, and he will lead you. And if he makes a mistake, we'll be there behind him to rectify it. You don't need to worry," Jiraiya said as the crowd was silent now. Link break. Then after a few moments of silence, before a voice broke out, "We'll follow you, Naruto, Hokage-sama, Ayame yelled from the middle of the crowd as Tenoichi nodded. "The Hyuga will support you, Hokage-sama," Neji said as the Hyuga raised their fist in agreement. "The Jonin of this village are with you, Hokage-sama," Asuma yelled as he and the other Jonin ninjas all saluted in unison. "Konoha torture interrogation forces are ready for your command, Hokage-sama," Hibiki said as he gave a smile and saluted from the head of the crowd. "We believe in you, Hokage-sama," Ruka shouted with Konohamaru on his shoulders as the other children and teachers vocally agreed. "Give him hell, Hokage-sama," Anko shouted out as she wrapped her arms around Coronation's neck. As more and more people began showing their support, Naruto stood there with shocked look on his face. He didn't even know some of the people that were now shouting for him to speak. Wait, speak? They were all chanting for him to say something, while he had been too shocked at the fact that some of the people who outright hated him and with a passion he noted in memory were now encouraging him to be their new leader. He shrugged. What the hell? He took his Kage hat back from the top of Danzo's head, making the old man sigh sadly, but Naruto didn't notice, placed the hat back on his head, and walked back to the railing where the people were cheering. From this day on, I, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, shall protect and lead this village from the worst times into the greatest, Naruto said as he took the hat off and the wind blew his hair and robes back. As the goddamn Hokage, Naruto shouted to the cheers of many and the smiles of many. They may not have hated him anymore, and he may not have liked that he was their leader and ruler, but damn it, with his determination and courage and heartwarmingness, they will follow him and soon come to acknowledge him. As the sun set over the Hokage monument, right behind the faces of the third and fourth Hokage, a lot of the older villages couldn't help but be reminded of seeing the other Hokage being inaugurated in the very spot Naruto stood. So if they had led the village so well despite what many had said about them, why could this young brat, they meant fine young hero, perhaps they would reach the greatest of times under his rule, just maybe. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I am signing out. Peace.